think, yes, there we are. Good evening, my friends. I hope everyone's having a good Monday and that you had a good weekend also. I don't really trust my stream anymore because sometimes I seem to be able to just do, I don't know if I messed up the buttons or something. One time I turned everything off, so but now it's working. Hey, Mindful Mama, nice to see you. Did everyone have a good weekend? Any good practice? We talked about something last Thursday. What was we discussed? We were talking about feelings and how they made us enjoy. Now, what was it? I can't remember what it was, but it was something I thought you could look at during the weekend. So if anyone did that, feel free to share it. I had some interesting experiences actually with what I would call low-level distortions, kind of the feeling you get when you have something you're having running in the background. Because one of the things that most of us have to deal with is this, not a direct fear, not a direct pain, but it's just kind of humming below the surface. It's just this low, kind of uncomfortable feeling inside of us, just churning. And you can't really put your finger on it. You might know, okay, it comes from that, but there's not really anything you can do about that feeling, it seems, because it's so diffuse. It's just lying there in the background. And you might actually know where it's coming from, but it's not something you would put the name of an emotion or feeling on. It's just an uncomfortable feeling that you walk around with. And when you walk around with that feeling, that tends to make us feel a bit grumpy. We're a bit more easily annoyed than normally. We're just not as nice to be around, and we just do things that we wouldn't normally do. And so looking at that is really useful, but it's also really difficult. Because it is that feeling of, I am here, and I am experiencing this uncomfortable experience, and I want to get away from that experience. It's something that I find uncomfortable, and I want it to go away. So we don't actually allow ourselves to feel whatever it is that we're feeling. Now, these feelings, I believe they're there to help us just survive. Kind of, you see a cliff that you can fall off, the body goes, ooh, like I shouldn't go too close to the edge because that's dangerous. Or you see a big animal that has big claws and teeth, and you're like, okay, yeah, danger, like I should stay away. Or society rejects you. Okay, fear, I don't want to be left out of the group. I should stay within my circle so that I don't do anything dumb and lose my, where I am. And when we look at these distortions or these feelings, they're made to preserve us. But what we miss many times is that we don't actually allow ourselves to feel that. Instead, we tense up and we make even more distance. So it's this feeling of not letting that go, and that means that something that could just come up and be difficult and then go away tends to just stay there and kind of churn. Hey Thomas, nice to see you. It tends to just churn there in the background, and just we walk around with this uncomfortable feeling. And I think when we were more Neanderthal-ish, it was easier, because then what we had to do was more like, okay, I feel bad, go out, get food, done, I go to sleep, kind of. It was easier back then. Or it was danger, okay, run away, fear, and then we let go of that. And then after that, we were kind of relaxed. We didn't have much distortion, so many reactions to things around us that we needed to take action on. Instead, we were much more free-flowing. But nowadays, we tend to really get into these things, and it's this sense of, I need to protect me. It's really important that I protect me. And again, I'm not saying don't protect yourself or your properties or anything. I'm just saying the feeling of needing to do that, that's where like all of these problems come from. So if you, instead of being so afraid of these feelings, actually just allow them to come, and what it will feel like is that you walk around with that feeling, and it's kind of churning, and then you just, okay, this is like, I don't really want to feel this. I'd rather go and be angry at that person, or like talk about how bad they are, or this is. instead of just feeling the feeling. But if you can allow yourself to feel that feeling, eventually it will just disappear. And it's kind of confusing because you think, oh, okay, it's just because I'm not really focusing on it. And then you go back to it and you try to get yourself to feel that distortion again, and then it disappears again. And really, there isn't any need to do that, because if we just get out of the way, all of that will just kind of clear itself up. That the problem stems from this resistance that we have, that we don't allow ourselves to feel these feelings. So I had something that happened, like, it has been going on for a long time, but outside of us, that I've been involved in, and that has had, like, having me some kind of low-level distortion, and it happened to come back this weekend, and I was looking at that, and I was walking around with it, and I was feeling it, okay, this is difficult, and then instead of, like, we're not trying to wallop in the pain or in that uncomfortable feeling, we're trying to just let it come up and allow ourselves to feel it. And it's like it's a skill, or it's a muscle. It's something you have to practice to learn how to do, because it's very difficult. Actually, it isn't very difficult, but in the beginning it can be difficult to do this, because we're so not used to actually feeling what we're feeling. Instead, we want to put blame, or we want to tell these stories, or we want to gather our friends and tell how terrible, and that might be true, it might be absolutely true, but it also makes us not really look at this feeling. And instead, if we allow that to come, and then we go out and talk to people, and then we can discuss, and then we can try to solve things without this anger, which is easy to say, but not so easy to do always. See, my mama saying, the more I look at my distortions, the more I realize how many I have. But it's so much easier to call it distortions than to make a big story around it, where it comes from, why is there, it's exactly, and this is why I prefer the term distortion. So sometimes interchange it with feelings or pressure or tension, like just to make people understand where to look for. But when we say distortions, what should we take? It's a really good example, Mindful Mama. An example would be that, say you had a partner who cheated on you, and you were hurt, and they slept with your best friend behind your back in your bed or something. It's like, oh, it's this like really difficult thing, and you could go to a therapist and say, okay, I have this terrible, I was betrayed, I was put in the dark, and all of my friends are laughing at me, and all of these difficult things are happening, and my life is so terrible. And that's the whole story, and it's not that that's not true, it's just that then you focus on the story. And again, we're trying to focus on our life experience, not our life story. So instead of trying to say this, if instead you just call it distortions, the only thing you need to deal with, you don't need to solve all of this, you don't need to put blame, you don't need to come up why it happened, or why it's wrong, or like why they shouldn't have, or what an asshole they are. All of those things are kind of irrelevant. We're just looking at distortions. Okay, there's this uncomfortable feeling. Oh my goodness, it hurts so much, and I can feel it. But we're not looking at blame, guilt, fear, betrayal. Like, we're just looking at the distortion, and it's less personal somehow, because it's just a distortion. If I say they betrayed me, they did this to me, that brings me in it much more, and it's more difficult to let go of that. So by focusing directly on the experience of the pain and allowing ourselves to feel that, instead of telling the story, and that's basically what my psychology tries to do. They try to tell the story, and from the story come up with a reason that's good enough for you to allow yourself to just let go of the problem. Let's see, Mindful Mama, I use the term nowadays in my yoga classes too, and people really like it. The term distortions, I meant. Nice. Luna, hi, I'm learning to embrace all distortions. Not easy, but I really feel like weight is flowing off my body bit by bit. Grateful. Nice. Good evening also, Luna. I mean, I'm so happy to hear you say that, because when you really start to shift how you're focusing your, I don't want to say energy, but your awareness energy, because there's only so much you can do with your awareness, and you don't focus on this whole story, which again, is not that it isn't true, it is not that didn't happen, it's just that that's the story, and we don't need to deal with that. We just need to deal with this difficult sensation. And when you've learned how to let go of that, then that's when you'll take the best action. That's when you'll do the best action, when it's not taking from trying to change the story, but actually just you let go of the distortion, and then you're actually in a clean space. You're taking the decision based it's kind of I was just in a meeting before I'm in a group of people who do YouTube, and we kind of discuss and talk about how do you share something you want to help someone with over YouTube. It's very different from when you're having a normal conversation. One of the reasons I like live streams much more, I guess, not much more, but more than actual videos, is because this is more like a conversation. When you're doing a YouTube video, you have to just think about it differently. So there was a man who had scripted a video, and we were looking at it, and it was just so obvious when I was looking that, okay, yes, he kind of misses the point that was really interesting in the point he's trying to say. I could see it very clearly when I looked at it from an outside perspective, because I wasn't involved. It wasn't my script. I mean, I don't actually write scripts right now, but it wasn't my work that I was looking at, because then I'd be doing all this writing, and I had my story, and like, okay, for me it makes sense, it goes from here to here. But when someone else comes in and look at it, it's kind of like, oh, well, dude, this is like really dumb. Why just skip this part and just go into here? And it's very similar when you let go of your distortions. I mean, that was a long story, but the thing I tried to get to was that when you let go of the story and you're not so emotionally charged by everything, because then they say something immediately as soon as they open their mouth, like, I know what's going to come out of them, and I hate that person, I hate them, and I know her, her I really like, yeah, I like her, but that person, oh no, and that, well, I'm not really sure what I think about them. Maybe they're nice, maybe. In other words, it's not that that's not true. It could be that this person is very nice to you, that person is behaving very poorly, and that one just hasn't made sure, like, clear what their intentions are. But when you're acting from feeling and emotion, it's just, you're not taking the choice. This distortion is making the choice for you. And if you don't think about what happens when you watch social media, YouTube, and like all these other places where people bombard you with information about, okay, this is how you should look, this is what you should say, this is what you should be doing when you're 20. Like, I listen to some people, they're 25 and they feel like failures because they're not millionaires. Like, what's wrong with you people? Like, seriously, like, yeah, because well, that's what they've heard. I'm supposed to be a millionaire when I'm 25, and I'm not, so obviously I'm a failure. So just getting out of this story and out of all these distortions that society, like marketing basically, is trying to make you feel. They're trying to make you feel bad so that you will take an action they want. Usually that is to buy something, or to put your time into something, or put your vote towards somewhere. I mean, yeah, I'll just I try to not talk about politics, but something that's really interesting is that if you look at in America, Democrats versus Republicans, the Democrats, when they give arguments, they say, okay, it's like this, it's like this, it's like this, and these are the things we've come up with, and that's why it's better. Whereas, like, on the let me see, is that left or right? The Republicans, they will simply say, like, just like they have like slogans like drill baby drill. Like, what does that even mean? Like, are you able to take those actions? But people like slogans like that, so we give people something that they can kind of latch onto and understand. And that part of the political spectrum are really good at telling stories that make people feel something, so they take action from their feeling and stop thinking. And we're basically, this has nothing to do with that, but we're trying to not be influenced by how other people want us to feel. Instead, we're trying to take action because of what we want, what you want, not what I want. That's why I never give advice and tell people, okay, you should do this. And people sometimes come and ask, and they say, what should I do here? And people do this or people do that. I'm like, I'm not going to tell you what to do. Like, I will help you to let go of as much distortion as you can, so you will be as clean of a slate as possible, so that you can make the decision in whatever you need to do in that situation from a state of non-reactiveness. Because then you can finally think clearly, based on your experience, your life knowledge, what you've gone through and what you've learned. That will be how you take that decision. So it's not that we all are going to come with the same decision. It's that when you take away this reactive part, then you make the best decisions, because then it's really what you believe, not what someone else wants you to do, or what you think you have to do to be loved by others. It's actually what you want to do. So in a very real sense, you become liberated. Which is why I really like the term liberation much more than enlightenment, because the way that it seems to happen is that when we let go of these distortions, we become liberated to take the actions that we want, not the actions that other people want us to take. And it's very difficult to, I mean, it's scary because you cannot control that person. You cannot tell them this is what you should. There's certain things that are very difficult to do when you're not distorting. You can't get in an argument because you need to have like me fighting you. And that just doesn't really happen so easily. So, long story, I hope that, what are your thoughts on that? I'm not even sure what I said. I go into these things and start talking, and then afterwards, like, oh my goodness, I've been talking for 20 minutes. But it's just something they came up with. What Man for Mama said, that how if we stop thinking about the story and we look at these distortions and we say, okay, wait a minute, I am talking because I have this distortion, so I'm not really I'm not really thinking clearly in this situation. I'm doing it because someone said something that made me react. Let's see, Frozen. My life has been a mess for the past few years, and no surprise, it's been constant seeking answers, yet I'm still stuck. Yeah, I understand. Hey, Martin and Frozen. My advice there, if you think about what I'm not sure how long you've been listening to the conversation, but basically the thing is that answers are answers to stories. Answers means that, why did you, we talked an example before of someone who, hypothetical, slept with your best friend behind your back and they were laughing and he was in your bed. So answers would be to find out, why did they do that? What's wrong with me? Why didn't she love me or he love me? How could they do that? How can people behave this way? That's like trying to find answers. So you're going to be stuck in this, like trying to figure out the story. If you let go of that, for now, let go of that. I'm not saying you should just, okay, I don't care, I'm perfect and people should just love me as I am. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is like let go of that story for now and instead focus on the distortion you feel towards that story and try to just handle it just a little bit easier, effortless than you did before. Just step by step, learn to be able to see what that feels like without going like this, and just kind of learn to let that wash over you. If it becomes overwhelming, then stop, don't do it. Like that's the thing that everyone has to kind of for themselves know where the limit goes, because it can become overwhelming also. And then you let that come up step by step by step, and then when you've done that, then it's much easier to go find the answers. But I can tell you that answers is not real. I left wanting to figure out where we come from, where we're going after life, what's my life purpose. That was one of the big ones I left with. And I wanted to find in a way I wanted to find my soulmate, kind of, even though I was becoming a monk, but like in the future, in 50 years or something, I don't know, like I wanted to find love, or I wanted to find this wholeness somehow. And the funny thing is that when I left monasticism, I had solved that problem. And I didn't solve the problem by finding the answers. I solved the problems by looking at the feeling that made me think I needed to have those answers and let go of that. And so it's simply no longer a problem. I don't need to find my life purpose anymore. I mean, I really, like, I used to think about this so much, and now it's just, it's kind of, I just do what I do, and I do what I enjoy doing, and then it's not really, because there's not this, like, I am not so important anymore. To need to find your life purpose, you have to be very important. To need to figure out why your ex cheated on you, you have to be very important. But when you let go of this, and you see that it just happened, like, just let go. If it happened to someone, whatever you went through, if it happened to some dude in, like, South America, someone in a small village that you never heard of, I mean, I'm sure that happened, the same thing to them, very likely, similar at least to you. But you don't care. It doesn't bother you at all, because it's not you. So you're not distorting towards that. So instead of focusing on the story, just focus on the distortion, learn to let go of that as best as you can, and then see, okay, well, maybe I actually was very difficult in that relationship. Again, I'm not saying you have relationships problems. I'm just saying from the situation that I spoke about before. Let's see, Luna, I try to let go of the story and focus more on the how I deal with my emotions. Exactly. And I've been doing this since 2010, I think. And in that period, I also spent 6 years meditating, like every day, most time of the day. So, like, I spent a lot of time in this, and this is difficult. Granted, I had to figure all of this stuff out by myself pretty much. I had inclinations from others. Okay, this might be important, but it also, people have all these, that's another story. But it is, once you understand the core concept of what we're trying to do, it's not complicated. It's actually very simple. Luna is saying exactly that. I don't need the answers on many situations, although I'd love to know my life purpose, for I tell myself, then I can stop searching. Yeah. I mean, I feel peaceful and I feel calm because I'm not looking for my life purpose. And if I would die tomorrow, I wouldn't feel like, oh my goodness, I wish I would have done that. When I was younger, I had a bucket list. I wanted to do that. I wanted to do this. And I felt like, oh, that's kind of important. And I actually happen to have done many of them. And then I realized, well, they're not really that important. Mindful Mama, I think this is so often misunderstood again. When you start your spiritual journey, what's my purpose? What's the real me? Yeah. What's my higher good, etc.? It's just the same, but in a different jacket. Yeah, it is. It's exactly, instead of trying to become successful, earning loads of money, now you're trying to become spiritual, find your life purpose, because obviously the reason is you're supposed to manifest your higher calling on the planet and save gazillions of people, or do something that only you can do because you're so special. It's I'm sorry, but it's really, it's interesting to see how people mind bend like spirituality to try to make themselves special when they're like at the same time saying, oh, I'm not special. Like there's nothing, they're like so obviously wanting to make it special because it's scary to let go of being special. That doesn't mean I can't do what I think is good or what I'm good at. Absolutely. When I say this, I'm not saying don't figure out what you enjoy doing or don't do what you think is fun. Absolutely. I mean, like, there's a reason I'm sitting here talking to you, because I enjoy it. I would not be doing this if I didn't enjoy it. I mean, then I simply wouldn't be here, because I don't find it. Why would I spend all this time and actually money also that I spent like in fixing this up if I didn't enjoy it? So then, yeah, like, I can understand it when you start out that it makes sense to look at it like that, but really just look at distortions and just learn to enjoy being here. And if you learn to enjoy being here, then it doesn't really matter so much what you do, but you'll notice there are certain things that you're better at, that you find more joy in doing than others, and then just do those. And obviously, at the same time, make sure you make a living so you can survive and are not thrown out of your home and mess up your life. Let's see, Luna. Somehow it feels I'm not doing good enough as long as I'm not working hard on my life purpose. Yeah. I know the feeling. I remember so clearly when I thought that was so important to do that. I don't have it with my life purpose. I more have it like what I notice now sometimes is that I'll be... I was fixing my daughter's bed earlier, like a surprise. We were remaking it so that she would have like this sky over her and like, yeah, just a nice thing. And I could notice that they were coming soon, and I could feel this like tightness in my stomach. It's not really a distortion strongly, but it's not really a anxiety, but it's like a tension, and that made me move faster. And like, okay, no, I'm not going to be moved by my distortion. I just let that go, and I started walking just a little bit slower. Still doing the same thing, but focusing on enjoying drilling the screws, lifting the thing up and turning it around, and like, oh, this is going to be so nice. And I was standing there looking, oh, she's really going to enjoy this. And I could see I'm not trying this is stable. Yeah. So it's not that we can't do things, it's that we change how we do them, what's behind it. It's not that we need to find our life purpose or that we can't find things that we're good at. Absolutely do that, but don't think that you cannot enjoy being here until you get there. Mindful Mama, I think that is deep-rooted in many of us, Luna. Yeah, I think you're right, Mindful Mama. Thomas, I'm in a struggle to reintegrate in my IT job. I will try tomorrow to look from a perspective of distortion. Absolutely. I worked quite a bit with people who had difficult situations. That's one thing that might be similar was now going on talking again. We're going to start meditating very soon, but I'll just take this one. There was a guy who was a famous celloist, I think it was. Is it a cello, like those big? He was quite famous and he was really good at that. And I met him in Plumage, and we were talking, and he had so much anxiety whenever he would sit with his cello. So he said, like, yeah, I'll sit and I'm going to practice. Put the case down. I open the case, and as soon as I open it and I said, do that, I get this overwhelming anxiety, and I cannot take out my cello. He said, I love playing the cello, but I simply cannot sit, and I play it and it hurts. It's like it's so much anxiety. I cannot do this. So we were looking at that, and we looked at again, I'm trying to correlate this to an IT job. He had something he actually loved doing, but he had this distortion towards it. And it's not really important why he had this distortion. He just had a distortion. We actually figured out later what it was, but that's not besides the point. That just kind of became obvious when we started looking at the distortion eventually. But even if we wouldn't have found that out, it doesn't matter, because we could look at that distortion and we could then work with it. So his exercise was kind of, okay, you sit down in a chair that you usually play the cello in, but you don't play the cello, you don't even have the cello there. You just sit there and meditate, and you just try to be okay with sitting in that chair. Next step, bring the cello out the case, and you sat. All you need to do is just feel okay with the cello being there. You don't need to do anything else. And you feel whatever comes, you allow that to wash over you, and then you go on forward. So he worked with the distortion. The goal here was not to play the cello. The goal was not to overcome this anxiety, this feeling. The goal was to see, hey, where does it start? To become curious. Okay, how does it feel like? What? And we had other things we did, like we looked at that feeling that came about it. And he worked directly with that, and eventually could let it go. And I actually seen photos of him playing now, so obviously it worked for him and he overcame it. So maybe that's something you can use for the IT struggle reintegrating. I'm assuming that you've been away from it somehow, or you had some experience that made you feel away from it, so now you're trying to reintegrate into that. Interesting. Let us know how that goes. I'm going to take Frozen's also, and then we'll start. Frozen, meditating yesterday, being bad at homework came up, meaning I feel left on my own, just like a bad student. I distract myself and not attempt or apply what I learned in class, instead of waiting to be told what to do. So then if you look at that, the reason you're not doing what you're wanting, because I can hear you wanting to do your homework, but if you would look at that, you would find, I bet, that the reason you don't do your homework is because you have distortion. And so when you have distortion, then you do something else. You watch a series, because there's a resistance towards doing this homework. So instead of facing that and actually feeling that that's an uncomfortable feeling, you instead go and watch a video, or you do play a computer game, or watch some porn. Like, I don't actually know what you're doing, but like, you do anything but actually do your homework. So instead, like, if you want to meditate and work with that, that would be to actually sit down, just have your homework lying in front of you. You're not trying to do your homework. You're just trying to see, can I be okay with just the homework lying there? And look at all this stuff that comes up. And if it's too overwhelming, obviously, please stop it. But then see that there is no reason to feel bad about it. It's lying there. And then look at that feeling and see how that is pulling you to do other things. And I can almost feel it when you're talking about this, because I can have the same thing sometimes when it comes to starting big projects. And then that's when it can also be good to have techniques. So there's certain things you can do to make it work. So you could just put a timer on 5 minutes or 15 minutes and just say, I'm just going to work with this for 5 minutes. And many times just getting started for that short period of time will just pull the plug out, and all of a sudden it's just working. So I would meditate with your homework and just feel what that feels like. Feel the distortion that comes from it, and see if you can actually just be okay with that, and see that you don't need to do that because you're meditating. There's no reason to feel bad about that. And then if you can actually do that, well, then you can move on to the other thing. So it's, yeah. Now I got distracted. I forgot what I said, the other thing. Hopefully you remember what I said. So today's Monday. It's guided meditation, and normally, for those of you who are new, for those of you who are new, normally we chat a little bit for a short 5 minutes or 30 minutes. Let's just see what Frozen said. Yeah, the start is always the hard part. Then it's hard to stop on starting. Exactly. I know. Man, I feel you. I feel you. So we chat a little bit like this first, and then we do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method, which is a way of reconnecting with our senses without the self or the story about the things we're actually observing. We're just trying to observe the things the way they are. After that, we'll sit for 20 minutes. Today is guided meditation, since it's Monday. And then after that, we'll have, I think, a short question and answer, because it's just quite late now. So when when we do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method, what we do is we say out aloud 5 things that we can see, 4 things we can feel, 3 things we can hear, 2 things we can smell, and 1 thing that we can taste. And the whole goal here is to break down our senses into the smallest, what would I call that? The smallest particles of how you experience things. So, an example. This is a piece of Lego that my daughter plays with. Now, if I would be looking at the feeling of this, it'd be like, oh, this is so cozy. I remember we bought this and we put this together to get, we built this together the first time and we had so much fun. That would be the story, the feeling, oh, this is special. But if I'm actually just observing it, it's actually really cool. I can see the reflections on this Elsa horse. I don't know if you can actually see that, but there's like these, wow, that's really cool. Huh. It's it's, you know that if you spill oil on water, there's this film that's glossy kind of, it's like that. Almost like an internal glow. Very cool. So instead of saying this is a horse with the cartoon figure Elsa on it, I try to look at the shapes, the texture, the way it goes around, reflections, surfaces. Texture is very interesting to look at. Colors, and I just move it around and I just try to see it as a child would see it. If you would give this to an infant, they would go like, boom, 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 boom. Look at these colors, holy moly. That's why, you know, when neon lights came, people go like, wow, look at those neon lights, that's insane. If someone lives in the forest and to see neon lights, they're like, because they've never seen anything like that. But we go, oh, neon lights, that's crappy. You know, we have this image of a movie where it's like blinking. It's like some old place where it's just like, yeah, crime rates are high. But someone who doesn't have that, they will see for what it really is. It's just reflections, surfaces, and everything like that. So we try to break down our senses and just see what we see. So say it out loud with me. Whatever you're seeing, say that, and then really look at it and try to see these things. Not the horse, the figure, the feeling, oh, I know what this is. Just clearly see it without this distortion that tries to evaluate and create like a feeling. This is good, this is bad, I want this, I don't want this. I think this is cozy, it's not cozy. But just try to enjoy everything you experience. Elsa horse. I see a butterfly. Same here. The reflections, the colors, the surfaces, the textures. It's curving around. There's lines of light going here. I see a pair of socks. I see myself in the computer screen. And I see a spotlight. A very interesting kind of curvature to it. That was 5 things that I could see. Next we take 4 things that you can feel. I can feel... oh, that tickles. I can feel this ceramic on my lip. It's actually on my beard. That's a really interesting feeling. We're just trying to feel what it feels like. We're not trying to make it into something more than it is. But when you really feel it, everything is interesting. It's an interesting experience. But we're so used to, oh, I've done this 1,000 times. I've done this. I don't think about that. But when we really, and that's one of the reasons we slow down in meditation centers. We slow down so we can really experience what it is we're experiencing. I feel this bottom part here. But that's a little bit jagged. And that's hard. I'm so fascinated by this oil color. That's oil film. I don't even know what to call it. It's really cool. Amazing. I feel the carpet in here. has a special texture. It's enjoyable to feel. If you don't tell the story, oh, it's carpet, oh, someone's been walking there, or it actually was used when I got it, ew, maybe there's someone yucky stuff on it. I did clean it though. But instead of telling all of that, you can just feel, oh, right now, this is actually kind of interesting to feel. And I can feel the coldness of this bell in my hand. I can feel how it spreads out from my hand. And I can feel the weight of it in my hand. I can feel the surface of it. Even if it's lying still, I can feel it. And if I turn it, it's a completely different experience. If you've ever been to a meditation center, you know that people slow down and they move slower. One of the main reasons for doing that is to actually become aware of what you're experiencing. The problem, though, is that people tell stories about it. They then go into... I remember seeing one... it was actually... they took it up on a sharing later. They were saying, I was so good of him when he was eating. And he was eating and he was doing like this. Because you're supposed to eat slowly. So he kind of did this. Okay, I'm not going to bore you, but I remember watching, like, what is he doing? That's when you're taking it too far, and you can see the tension in when you're trying to do that. Instead of being relaxed and just feeling, slow it down. Don't overdo it. Don't make yourself into this big journey you're on when you're going to eat slowly. It's the only thing you'll do all day, because you'll eat so slow that by the time you're done with breakfast, it's time to make dinner, because that's how long it takes for you to eat breakfast. So don't exaggerate it, because there's just ego in that, like that self coming in, wanting to be special by trying to make yourself unspecial. I can't remember. I think that was 4 things I felt. Let's say it was, because I'm pulling out on time. Next, we have hearing. 3 things that we can hear. Same thing here. We're trying to listen for details that are within the things we're hearing. It doesn't have to be the thing that's the most obvious thing at first. And also within the sounds, there's things happening. So I'm listening to rain. And I can hear it in many different places. There's rain falling on the roof. There's rain dripping on the side. And I have some plastic there that I can feel the rain on, hear the rain on that. And allow yourself to enjoy it. If you listen to a beautiful piece of music, you go, oh, that's so nice to listen to. It's the same with this. Whatever you're hearing, okay, obviously, if there's a child screaming in your ear, it might not be that enjoyable to listen to. But even that could be enjoyable if you were really just a better person. No, I'm not going to joke with you, sorry. But everything is possible to enjoy. It's just that some things are more difficult than others. Children screaming in your ear, one of the things that takes a lot of practice to enjoy. Trust me, it's not easy. I can hear, except for that, I hear the compressor for the pumping. I can't stop laughing now. I hope I don't make too bad jokes. Oh, I can hear myself scratching my beard. And within that, there's so much sound. So it's really about becoming interested, because the way you overcome these distortions is not by pushing them down. It's not by expressing them and going out on these wild rampages. Like a lot of spiritual people believe that I should express all my emotions because that's me. I should be allowed to be who I am. And they just like spew their shit everywhere. And they ruin the lives of people around them and their own lives. It's not about letting it all come out. It's about focusing on first learning to feel it, but then you also have to allow yourself to enjoy and to feel good. I mean, it's really what it is, to be in a good mood. Allow yourself to be in a good mood. I'm feeling in a splendid mood today right now, and I have absolutely no special reason for it at all. I'm just feeling really, really good, and I'm enjoying sitting here. And I mean, If I would have won $1 million at the lotto, that would be really nice as well. I wouldn't have minded that because we couldn't need the money. But I don't have to wait until I do that. That would be nice. That means I am going to win $1 million. I don't have to wait until something big happens to allow myself to feel good. We can feel good right here. We can feel good right now. There's not really anything that needs to change for that. And one of the ways of doing that is to focus on our senses and really enjoy them. And right now, as I said, I'm completely fascinated by Elsa's horse. I mean, I'll ask my daughter if I can borrow this one because this is amazing. It's the coolest thing I've seen in a long time. Yeah, so I think I said 3 things I can hear. Next we take 2 things that we can smell. It's kind of a burnt smell. I think someone has lit a fire nearby. It's strange. I smell chewing gum, but I haven't taken any chewing gum. Finally, we take one thing that we can taste, and these 2 last ones, scent and tasting, is something that we just don't spend a lot of time doing. We just don't use that sense so much. But if we taste, there's something there. It's kind of a metallic taste in my mouth. Yeah, I'm not sure where that comes from. And I don't need to know. It tastes a bit metallic. So for today we will be doing a breathing meditation, and I want you to simply start bringing your awareness to your breath. Just put yourself in a comfortable position where you feel comfortable. It can be lying down, sitting up, standing up, or technically speaking you could even be walking if you wanted to. But give yourself 20 minutes to just focus on this very simple task of observing your breath. We're not trying to control your breath. We're not trying to make you do anything special. Not trying to raise our energy or lower energy. We're simply trying to let breath happen by itself and observe what's there. Observe what happens when we let the breath work by itself. So start by bringing your awareness to your breath and see, what does it feel like when breath is happening? Maybe even more than feeling the actual sensations, it's feeling the awareness of being aware of breath happening. When we do this, it's very easy to be critical to ourselves. It's easy to tell yourself that, well, I'm sure that since no one else is saying anything, now you can't see each other, but if you would be sitting in the same room, you would open your eyes a little bit and look and see, oh my goodness, they're all sitting with closed eyes, still as Buddha statues. I'm sure they have absolutely no thoughts. It's probably just me having all these thoughts, because I'm bad at this. I'm not a good meditator. I'm not a good yogi. I wish I was like those other people over there. And in their mind, they're doing exactly the same. They're thinking, oh God, I wish I was as good as that guy sitting over there. He seems like a statue. How can he sit like that, or she sit like that? So we tend to tell ourselves stories about how bad we're doing, or how much we're failing. And there is one thing that everyone misses when they do this. It's not about stopping the thoughts. It's not about not drifting off into our thoughts. The only thing we're trying to do is to keep coming back to our breath. The more times you notice that you're drifting off into your thoughts, the better it is. The more that you notice, oh, I was off in my thoughts, I forgot to observe my breath, and you come back, the better it is. Because that's ultimately all you need to do. Just keep on over and over and over and over again, coming back to your breath, and at the same time being relaxed, not forcing anything, not trying to make anything happen, but instead just letting the breath happen by itself as you're sitting there. To make it a little bit easier to do this, we will do a technique where we count our breaths from 1 to 8 and then down again from 8 to 1. When we do the counting, we put the count at the pause in between the breaths. And there's a reason why we do that. I noticed when I was doing this technique as a monk that I kept counting my breath, but it kept drifting off. I would usually do breathing in and out, 1, and the out breath I would count. So it would be in, 1. I would count it on the out breath. And then at that pause in between for the next breath, that's where my thoughts would usually come in, and I'd drift off, and I would say, oh, wait, I completely forgot about this. So when we count, we do in and out, 1. That way you bring that just little bit of tension into the pause, so you don't forget to focus on your breath. And I will do this with you once, and then you can continue doing it by yourself. So we're breathing in and out, 1. In and out, 2. In and out, 3. In and out, 4. In and out, 5. In and out, 6. In and out, 7. In and out, 8. In and out, 7. In and out, 6. In and out, 5. In and out, 4. In and out, 3. In and out, 2. In and out, 1. Now keep on counting your breaths from 1 to 8 and then down again from 8 to 1 as you're breathing in and out, 1. In and out, We often grade our meditation on how calm we get, how peaceful or how still we are, and we think, wow, I had such a profound meditation. I was feeling this bliss and it was so calm. I was so still. That was a good meditation. And then the next time you sit, nothing works. It's painful, your joints hurt. Every muscle in the body hurts, and you just feel like you don't want to sit down anything but closing your eyes and sitting here, and you say, that was a bad meditation. And we miss the whole idea of why we meditate. It doesn't matter if it's comfortable or uncomfortable. If anything, the uncomfortable meditations may be the most beneficial meditations you ever do, because they help you face what it feels like to feel uncomfortable. In a situation when you're able to be still, to be calm, and not swayed by whatever it is you're feeling. You're not expressing this anxiety, anger, fear, sorrow, or pushing it down. You're actually experiencing reality as it is right now. And as you do, you'll eventually realize that this is a pretty dumb idea to punish yourself like that. It makes me think of a child when two siblings are fighting and one of them takes the other's hand and they start punching them in the face. Like, hey, stop hitting yourself, stop hitting yourself, stop hitting yourself. It might sound silly, but in a way it is the same when we have these difficult sensations inside of us. No one outside is doing that. You're doing that. It doesn't mean it's easy to stop doing that, or that you're even able to do that right now. But ultimately you are punching yourself in the face. So if you're having a tough meditation, maybe even a tough period in your life right now, that's okay. It doesn't mean you're failing at your meditation. Definitely doesn't mean you're failing at life. If anything, great difficulty makes us make great bounds in what we can do with our lives. Usually when things go the most wrong is when we find out, I almost said we find out our purpose, or we find out something useful from that pain. So don't be afraid of your feelings. And don't feel like you're having a bad meditation just because you're having difficult feelings. If anything, that might be your very best meditation that you've had all year. And then just bring your awareness back to your breath. Observe your breath as you're breathing in and out. 1. In and out. the last few minutes of the meditation, see if you can find the way to use your awareness, the way it is used when you're feeling in a good mood. Just look at what would it feel like to be in a good mood right now. Not because of something happening, but just that soft, almost glowing feeling of a sunrise, watching a sunrise in the morning, and you're out in nature, smelling the air, and it's just these pleasant sensations of calmness. All the smells in the air, the wind on your face. And we're not, again, looking for the pictures of this. We're looking for the feeling of this relaxed, effortless state of just being here, of enjoying being here, not waiting with feeling good until we're over there. If you try to find it, you won't find it. But if you allow it to happen because it's already there inside of you, then you might just be able to release that feeling of being in a good mood that's always there inside of you. feel free to keep on sitting or drink a cup of tea with me. If you have any questions, you can ask them in the chat. I see someone wrote something. Love that oil colors. Oh yeah. Frozen Martin, you must have a really enjoyed show and tell as a kid. We don't need a reason to feel good. No, we don't. There's no reason. We don't need a reason to feel good. Even though we're raised with the idea that we should. And I do the same thing to my kids. It's difficult. Okay, you behave now, or else we're not going to do that. Okay, well, I feel good if we can do that, so I'm going to do that. And it's just, yeah, we do our best to make life enjoyable for our kids, but it also is difficult, and we have our limitations on how much we can handle and what we can do. And we're beginners. Our kids are 6 and 2, so they're young. I mean, when they're 15, then I'll be much better qualified to handle a 2-year-old. But now we're beginners. Well, it's the second one, so it's easier this time. But I think every parent does their best, and we just, I don't believe this whole, many people have the idea that it's a big conspiracy trying to dumb you and get you into the system. I think it's just how life works, kind of. And it doesn't really matter. Just make sure you get out of it. Luna, love the rain sounds on your roof. It's raining here too. But I have your sound. That's where my mind drifted. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, it's really soothing. Rain is, oh, I love being in a tent. I just thought of now. I used to go in tents a lot when I was younger. And then you hear that on the tent. Hey Jack, nice to see you. I missed the session, sorry. Oh, no problem. Nice to have you here now though. Yeah, we had it was quite a late session actually. Why was it late? Oh yeah, I spoke too much, that's why. Nice. I feel like I'm yeah. I'm ready to go to sleep. Trying to get my sleep back in order. My neck is still not good, so I'm still having issues with that, but it's getting better. So I'm getting some sleep, and I can sleep during the days also, otherwise I wouldn't make it through. Thomas, let's see. Yes, I've been not working for almost 3 months due to a psychosis. Oh, really? Thomas, were you the one who messaged me last year when you had been meditating? I got an email from someone. Was that you, or was it someone else? You don't have to share if you don't want to, but just remember the story now of someone who had gone through something. Luna, thunder in this quiet. I am fine with not knowing my purpose. Nice. Yes, that's me, I think. I have a memory of someone messaging me. Might be you. I hope your reintegration goes well. And absolutely come back here on Thursday. And we'll talk some more about it. I'll be curious to hear how it goes for you. Good night, Luna. I really enjoyed tonight as well. I had a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it tonight. Every sitting is different. Tonight was a fun sitting. And that's nice to have sometimes. I hope you all have a good week, and I'll see you back on Thursday. Thank you.